whilst we all have a role to play, and many of us have fundamental roles to play, they're necessary but not sufficient. And what has to happen is that we place professional educators at the heart of the work so that they in turn can make the difference into lives of children that we know that they're best placed to do.
Coming together around a really tight topic of how we all work together to move from patch, innovation and exciting practice to whole of system transformation. For me it was the topic and of course the key speakers that we were bringing from overseas, George and the London Challenge and Rod's British Columbian work, just incredible, inspiring examples from around the world.
Fundamentally, the ground has shifted in British Columbia. We always were high performing. Our kids do well, they read pretty well, they write pretty well. But our parents have the lowest confidence in the public education system in the country. So in the past, this would all be government's problem. What are you going to do about it? How are you going to pay for this? What are you going to do? We've changed the dialogue. So now if you asked who owns transformation, you'd get a bunch of different answers. And mostly it would be, well, we have a part of it. We're all responsible for all the kids, the moral imperative.
Teaching is rocket science. Teaching is one of the most complex, difficult, demanding, and someone said frightening activities that the human race has invented for people to go into. And without the teaching workforce, through their representative organisations like teacher unions and others, if they're not at the table, then there will not be any systemic change.
Innovation has to be permanent because in the new paradigm, learning is permanent. You can't have permanent learning and not have permanent innovation.
You need to be successful in the system to change it from within. You can change it from without quite comfortably if you're not successful, and our dear politicians quite often change it from without being successful in the system.
And it often starts with, I know I'm not an educational expert, but when I was at school, but I am a parent and this is what I observe, and we're committing the exact sin that our marketing departments tell us never to commit, which is assume you are the market, assuming your own experience is actually exemplary of what the entire answer is. And if we don't allow that in business, we shouldn't be allowing it in education.
What really came through these sites was the notion of really purposeful collaboration. So the leaders in these schools were very clear about why they were collaborating, for what purpose, who they were collaborating with, what outcomes they were trying to achieve, mobilising the resources to the best effect for their community, not just their students, but their community.
In 2009, we had this document we often keep going back to, but it was delivered from on high, was the Melbourne Declaration.
Yeah.
An interesting proposition here would be, could this group or the collective produce the next version of that, which then continues the national thing, but actually then with all the players in it. So wondering out aloud, maybe SVA next year, that could be after a day of the collective together, we have the next declaration, which from my point of view continues the national conversation.
What came out of today is that we can't just scale learning solutions that come from the evidence. It's really about scaling a learning process where we come together as educators, collectively going through an inquiry process, using evidence and then generating evidence about new learning models that are coming out. And so I think for me the thing that really stood out is this connection between learning and innovation and the use and generation of evidence.